Hey everyone, how are ya? How's it going today? How's everyone doing? So, I am JenniferBlanchard. I'm an author and a story coach. I work with serious emerging novelists who want to save time, cut years off their learning curves, and be more effective storytellers so that they can write their first drafts faster and get published sooner. And today I wanted to talk to you about something that I think happens a lot. So, first of all, we all start somewhere, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So, it's really, really easy to look at the final product of something. So, you see a published book in a bookstore or online or whatever, and you think like, oh, this person must write like that all the time, or it's easy to read a book and think, oh, this is easy, anyone can do this. It can't be that hard. But the thing is, everybody starts somewhere, and it's never where you think it is. So, Stephen King might look like he writes the most kick-ass books ever, but the thing is, he didn't start there. He didn't wake up one morning and start writing these kick-ass books. Like, he started somewhere. I mean, he started from childhood. So, he really started writing a long time ago. And so now, of course, his stories are so much better and so much stronger than they were when he first started. The thing is, they weren't always like that. And his first drafts are not what you see in his published books. So remember that. I think a lot of times it's really hard as a writer. We see other people's work, or we see people we know, or writers that we read all the time becoming bestsellers. And especially even for me, like, I have a lot of friends who are best-selling authors, and I'm not a best-selling author yet. I know I will be at some point, but right now I'm not. And so, it's sometimes hard. You think, oh, am I ever going to get there? Is this ever going to happen for me? And really just kind of get down on yourself. And I just wanted to say something about that, because I think it's really important to remember that, first of all, we all start somewhere. It's never where we think it's going to be, and that it's okay. Wherever you are on your journey is totally okay. It's totally okay. You don't have to be any further along than you are. And I think sometimes we tell ourselves, like, we have to do things, faster. And if you're not ready for fast, then that's okay. For me, it was like, it took me 18 years to publish my first book, because I, had so much to learn, and I had so much I had to work through before I was going to be able to get the confidence to really put a book out there that I felt good about. And the other thing is that just because you see this, you go online and you see this. So this is my book right here, sound check. But the thing is, just because you see this doesn't mean that that's how it started. So I thought I would show you some of what I did to kind of get to this point. So first of all, here, this is my writing folder, my accordion folder that I used for my novels. This is the one I used for soundtrack. And I just wanted to kind of show you some of the stuff in here, so you can see that, where you start is not always where you finish. So this is where I first started. So these are all of the notes that I have. I have about 2 notebooks filled with notes about this story. And, I made a ton of notes on stuff. The book is called Soundcheck. You can find it on Amazon if you want to check it out. But anyhow, so where I started with this was, I have all these notes. That's 2 years worth of planning and developing this story before I actually published it, okay? So then I have my beat sheet, which is basically a list of all the scenes that I'm going to need in the whole story. And then I developed scene cards, so, using my note cards and just coming up with all the scenes, making sure I had all the information that I needed. And then I have 2 drafts that I wrote. So I have the first one here, which was the very first version of this story. And then I also have the updated version of it, which is the second draft that I did. And a lot of what was in the first draft is in this draft too. But the point is, I didn't start with this. I started with an idea in my head, and then from there I developed it into a story plan, and really got to the point where I was comfortable enough with the story to finally show it to somebody else, get an editor to look at it for me, get beta readers to read it, and get the feedback I needed to make changes. And so now I have a published book. But this is not where I started. I started writing fiction when I was 11 years old, and, I started with short stories. I wrote a novella when I was 13. It takes time. So it takes time. If you are not where you want to be in your writing journey right now, I just want to say that it's totally fine. It takes time, and as long as you don't stop, you'll get there. But I think the most important thing of all to remember is that you have to start. So if you haven't started yet, if you've been dreaming about this, if you've been thinking about it, maybe working on it a little bit, but not taking it seriously, you have to realize that in order to get where you want to go, you have to start, and you have to take action, and you have to take it consistently. And so I just kind of wanted to do this little Periscope as a reminder that, nobody starts on the bookshelf, so nobody starts on the bookshelf. I think a lot of times as writers, we think they do because that's just what we see. We see the final product, but we don't get to see, all this stuff, all the notes and the drafts that we went through and the piles of papers and, the things that we do to get to the final book. And so because you can't see that for your favorite authors, I thought I would show you, my version of it so that you can see that it takes a lot to get to a final book. And so wherever you are in your process is totally cool. And if you want to go faster, that's great too. And really, sometimes we just get this, thought in us where we think, okay, I'm ready. And that was kind of where I was at the beginning of this year. So, I've been working on this story for about 2 years. I've been writing it, developing it, planning it, but I hadn't published it yet, and I hadn't finished revising. And, I kept telling myself it was going to happen every year, and every year went by and it didn't happen. And finally, this January, I just woke up one morning and thought, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with excuses. I'm done with, letting myself get self-sabotaged. I'm done with all of those things that stop me from getting my book finished and out there, because I knew in my heart that I meant to be a fiction writer and that I was meant to have published novels and that I was meant to, have readers and all of that. But the thing is, if you don't start, and especially if you don't finish, you'll never get any of those things. So just keep that in mind and remember the next time you sit down to write, to take yourself seriously and to know that wherever you are is totally okay. You don't have to be any further along than you are as long as you never stop, So for me, I worked on this for a while and then I stopped, and I kind of went about 6 months before I started again. And it was like, you know what? You can't stop. If you really want something, you have to keep going after it. And even if you move really slowly, that's okay too, as long as you keep going. So just remember that. And I hope that that helps you to realize that, again, published books do not just start this way. They don't start on the bookshelf, and they definitely don't start off as awesome as they are when you see the actual version that you buy at the bookstore or that you buy online and read. So, keep going, keep working on your stories, and just know that you have everything that it takes to do this. You just have to believe in yourself, and you just have to know that to get where you want to go takes determination, and it takes trusting yourself, and it takes just knowing that you have to keep going. So even if you slow down for a little while, or even if you stop for a short period of time, keep going. And if you haven't started yet, please start. Figure out where you want to go, and then work backwards to figure out what you're going to have to do to get there. And start. Because if you don't start, you'll never get anywhere. And, your favorite authors, the ones that you love to read, they started and they kept going. And that is the only reason that you see them on the bookshelves today. If they hadn't, you wouldn't see them. And so it's the same thing for you. If you want your book to be out there, if you want to, write something really kick-ass that people read and totally love, you have to start. Or you have to finish if you've already started. Those are the two biggest things with getting what you want in life, starting and finishing. So I hope this Periscope was helpful and gave you a little bit of motivation on realizing that, we don't start off with a published book. We start off with this idea, and it takes a lot of time in development to get to the point where we're ready to get it out there. But you have to start. And if you are interested in getting your book out there within the next 12 months, I actually have a brand new program that I launched this week. It's called Novel by Next Week. Or no, wouldn't that be nice? Sorry, Novel by Next Year. Novel by Next Week would be nice too, though. But Novel by Next Year. So if you're ready to get your book written and published in the next 12 months, I would love for you to check out this program because it has everything you need to go from story idea to published novel and covers everything in between, including editing and getting your cover designed and all the support you need to make sure that you don't stop and that you keep going and you get your book out there. And you can learn more about it by going to JenniferBlanchard.net/next year. Thanks for joining me for this Periscope, and I will be back on Friday to give you lots more lovely tips about writing. Thanks for joining me. Catch you next time.